how did you have a? I'm just curious. How did you have a drawing with 80 people? Did you put 80 people names down? Oh, okay. That's a good idea. Because I was going to try to give some stuff away on there. I already did. I gave a blue slide away. Because I thought, well, I can't believe the things that people want on that website. They'll take anything. And, I mean, somebody put up like a half-eaten box of cereal. And a bunch of people wanted it. Right, right. Somebody can come and get them. Well, it's funny because I've only been looking at that Facebook page for a little while. In case people are wondering, it's Buy No Things Ann Arbor. But this woman I know who's a hoarder, all of a sudden she showed up on there. And I think because she's a Facebook friend of mine, she saw it and she got on there. And then I started seeing every piece of junk that she was wanting. And I'm like, you don't need anything. You already can't move around in your house. You certainly don't need this junk. She was trying to get hardware, and her whole kitchen is just full of hardware and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is really bad for her to be on there. And she was like, I'm interested in almost every single thing anybody had posted. It's a scary little situation. Yeah, don't give it to her. Yeah, I will. All right. All right. If you're not already, let's sit in Virasana. It's just you, Julie. I'm not sure you can get up with that dog. So I will send an email out to remind everybody, but not next Tuesday, but the Tuesday after is my birthday, and I've decided to take it off, and so I'm going to extend the session by 1 week. So we'll go into that first week of May um, to make up for that. I just decided I'm going to do that because there's not too many special things going on, and I'm just going to do that. I thought about it a lot, and I'm like, I don't really need to do it. I can have a good birthday anyway, because I like doing this. But then I just decided I was going to do it. It only happens once every 7 years. This orange feral cat that comes around occasionally to our cat cage was out there on my roof right now, and the cats were freaking out, and Sweetie Pie's tail was this wide, and a bird went out there and was barking at him, and we got him off of my roof, and he went away, but he had been coming into the cage, and Nico and I put a lid on it so that he can't anymore, but he was up on my roof terrorizing my scaredy cats. I think they're a little racist because he's an orange cat, and they only like themselves. All right, I have I think an interesting class today, so hang in there with it. We'll see how it goes. Interlock your fingers and reach out and up. Once you lift the arms up, lift the floating ribs a little more so that the arms become more upright. Turn to the right. And to center. And left. And to center. Bring the head behind the head. And reach up. Hold the elbow. Reach again. And then fold. Come back up. Change your interlock. And reach up. Lift those floating ribs. And turn to the right. And to center. And then to the left. And to center. Bring the head behind the head. Reach up. Hold the elbow. And reach again. And fold. Come back up. All right, next up is Supta Padangusthasana. So you can support your head if you need to. You can use a strap if you need to. And we're going to do the crossover. And so if you know that that's hard and you want to support your leg rather than having it float, we'll be lifting the left leg first, and so your support would be on the right to start out. So first lie down and get yourself balanced. And remember that when you fold the leg, when you fold, like we're going to do here in Supta Padangusthasana, there's three things that you really have to think about. One is that you want to keep the leg straight, and the other is that the groin has to fold. And so if you tighten up the groin, if you tighten up the abs, the groin tightens up, it gets in the way, and you can't really fold as deeply as you need to. So you have to keep part of your brain in the idea that you have to keep the groin and abdomen kind of soft. And the third thing, is that, to straighten the leg, you might want to initially pump it a little bit before you go into a straight leg, so that the pumping action can help release some of the tension in the back of the leg. So if you go straight to a straight leg, the leg might freak out. But if you just kind of, okay, now I'm going to straighten my leg. I'm going to put this strap on my heel, and I'm going to straighten my leg. I'm going to softly pump it a little until it's ready to open up. All right, and you'll hold the loop that's on your heel with your left hand. Is your left leg that's up. So pump a little bit of pumping action to soften up the back of the leg muscles, and then an extension. There's a fourth thing. The leg that's on the ground has to continue to extend into the sole of the foot, because that actually makes the groin softer and easier to fold. So you want to have a strap or be holding your big toe so that you have a connection there. And anytime while you're holding it, if you feel like there's just too much tension in the back of the leg, you can back off a little. That's not a bad idea. But it's also not a bad idea to do a little bit of slow pumping, folding the knee and pressing into the heel. So now you're going to switch hands, and here when you do cross the leg over, you want to make sure your right heel doesn't wander. You want to keep reaching out with the right leg so it stays fully extended, and you're allowed to roll all the way to your right side, but except for your chest and shoulders should be open, and maybe you don't want to go all the way to the floor. So you put something there to support your leg. And then you want to breathe and extend into both legs, but in particular that right leg, which you didn't want to wander. And the head is centered. And then the left leg comes up, and you switch hands again. Extend into the right leg. If you need to pump that left leg again, go right ahead. And then extending into the right leg, which will help you not lift that right hip. Bring the left leg out to the left side. then up you come. And release, get yourself balanced again. And then lasso up that right foot. Remember, you need to get this groin soft. So part of that pumping action helps get the groin folded. And then when you straighten the leg, you have to keep the groin and abdomen soft so that you can get the deepest fold that you're able to. And again, when the back of the leg starts complaining, or if it does, then you want to fold the knee a bit and slowly pump it straight and fold it again and slowly. Maybe don't go all the way to straight for a few pumps and see if that helps release some of the tension in the back of your leg. If you have the leg folded over your body past 90 degrees, then your shoulder and shoulder blade should be on the floor. But if you're farther away, the shoulder and shoulder blade is going to lift up off the floor. Keep extending into the left leg. If you need to pump that leg again, go right ahead. If you go slowly, if you do it fast, the back of the leg's just going to kick back at you. But if you do it slow, it might start to release. You switch hands, and you'll cross over, and you'll roll to the left, but the chest stays open towards the ceiling. So don't go so far that you have to start to lift the chest up. And extend into that left leg and make sure it doesn't wander. And then bring the right leg back up. Switch hands. Extend into the left leg. The more you extend into that left leg, the less likely you are to lift that left hip up. Make sure you're breathing. All right, and then bring the right leg up. Open it up as fully as you can. And then replace it and get balanced. So now we're going to lift the left leg up. You don't need your strap. You're going to hold behind the thigh, behind the calf, and you're going to lengthen the leg again. And bring the elbows wide and lift up, not just your head, not just your chest, but from below the navel, you want to lift up towards your leg, and you want to bring that very open leg towards you. And then you're going to lie back down and fold your left leg. Bring the heel and ankle on top of your thigh. And fold the right leg and let it rest down. Let both legs rest down like you're doing Ardha Padmasana. And no matter where you end up, so both knees coming down towards the floor, the left heel and ankle on top of the right thigh. You'll lift the floating ribs lightly off the floor and bring the arms overhead. You can catch your elbows. You can extend straight arms if you want. And then release the arms, release your legs, get balanced, lengthen the legs. Lift your right leg up, hold behind the thigh or behind the calf, and lift from below the navel with wide elbows towards your leg as you open up the knee and bring the leg towards you. And then fold your right leg, bring the heel and ankle on top of the left thigh, fold the left leg, it's underneath, and you're going to roll the knees towards the floor, and bring your arms overhead, lifting the floating ribs up a bit, and either catch your elbows or extend straight arms overhead. And then release the arms and the legs. Bring the feet to the floor. Take a breath and then roll to your right side. And then we'll sit up. So we're going to start out. Actually, we're going to do this for quite some time. We're going to do Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana and Setu Bandha, and Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana and Setu Bandha. And the first one is on a low height, and so you'll be surprised that you may not be able to get your feet overhead as low as you'd like. Usually at the studio we use a wall, but we're going to use instead, some kind of support. So I know I'm going to use my stool and a brick, but the first set is the hardest in Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana, so that's where you might want to be the highest, and it wouldn't be terrible for you to bring your foot to a chair seat or even a chair back. And we're just going to be on a bolster or maybe 3 folded blankets. You might want to pat up the floor where your head and body will be. So what happens with this, you'll see that the higher you go, the easier Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana becomes, and the harder Setu Bandha becomes. So there's an interesting little trade-off. So the first thing is that you want to make sure that you place your pelvis correctly on the bolster. And so you kind of want your pelvis level. And you don't want it tipped a little towards your shoulders or tipped a little towards your feet. In the end, you really want it level. And when it tips, it's usually because something is gripping and not releasing the way you want. So I'm hoping that as we move through this, things start to release a little. So when you lie down on your blanket or your bolster, you want
it's just your pelvis supported. You're not really that high, so it's not so far back, and we're going to just start like this. But you might want to just experiment. Nah, have a chair or a chair back over here, and you can always go down lower on the chair if you need to. If you think you're going to go down this low, that's fine. Because when we come back to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana, you don't want to come off of the bolster to get to your height. So you don't want to roll. You don't want to lift. You just want to fold. And so you don't want to make it too hard for yourself initially. This is the hardest one of those. But get what you think you need, and then come back onto your blankets or bolster and level your pelvis, and it's just your pelvis that's supported, and then bring the feet with folded legs to the floor. All right. So first thing, go ahead and lengthen the legs. Bring the heels to the floor. Your legs are either parallel or they're together. And when you're in Setu Bandha, the chest lifts up a little bit and you roll towards the top of your shoulders. So this is the one that you set up like shoulder stand. And so in this position, your shoulder blades are lifting off of the floor to the best of your ability. You can press your upper arm bones down, rest your hands on your belly. That'll help you roll the shoulders and lift the chest and lengthen the legs. Right. To start out, we're going to just bend the legs and let the groin fold a bit and stand the legs straight up on the ceiling. So don't pike in here. You just stand in the legs on the ceiling. All right, so now you don't want to jump and you don't want to lift. You just want to fold. You need to let the abdomen get super soft and long. And you can reach up. You can help the legs if you can reach them by hugging them towards you. But you want to make sure the legs are straight. And if you can, you'll find whatever you set up and touch the toes to it. It won't be light. It won't be heavy. It'll just be a light touch. And then both legs standing on the ceiling. And going to keep the both legs straight. We're going to bring the right leg. It's going to extend out. It's going to slowly come down until the heel comes to the floor. Move as slow as you can. And then you feel that release towards your right leg, and you can let the left leg follow. But as you do that, you have to press your upper arms down and let the chest lift up so that you're not bringing all your weight towards your legs, but you're a bridge that has weight on both sides. So you can rest the palms on the abdomen, press your upper arms down, let your chest lift, and let the abdomen open up. Right now, the left leg's going to stand on the ceiling. The right leg's going to stay extended on the floor. The right leg's going to follow. If you need to, you can bend your legs, but if you can, we're going to do all this with straight legs. And now the left leg's going to stay standing on the ceiling, and the right leg's going to come to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana, the upward facing Paschimottanasana. And when you get to your supporter as low, deep as you're going to go, then the left leg's going to follow. Press the thigh bones into the hamstrings. Then the left leg's going to stand on the ceiling. The right leg's going to follow. And then the left leg's going to extend slowly towards the floor. And the right leg will then follow. Keep the legs extended. And then now you're in Setu Bandha. You got to open the chest up, lift the ribs up off the floor a bit, and extend and let the abdomen open up. The left leg's going to stand on the ceiling. Move it slowly. And the right leg's going to follow. The left leg's going to come to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. The right leg stays standing on the ceiling. And then the right leg's going to follow. Now, in Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana, the shoulder blades are on the floor. And they're open and broad on the floor. And now the right leg's going to stand on the ceiling. The left leg's going to follow. And the right leg's going to come to Setu Bandha slowly, extending, not just coming down, but extending. And the left leg's going to follow. Now press the upper arms down and lift the chest up. And let the abdomen open up and take some breaths. All right, and then roll to your right side and sit up.
We're going to make this bolster, whatever you're using for your bolster, a little higher with a folded blanket. So if you're using a bolster, put the blanket under it. If you're using blankets, you can just put another one on there. So now that we're higher, the Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana will be a little easier, but the Setu Bandha will be a little harder. So if you think you might need to lift your heels, you can put something like a folded blanket the same height under your heels if you think you might need it to go into Setu Bandha with this much height. Well, March is going out like a lion. It was really windy. I'm surprised because all the Zooming I've done today, nobody lost their internet, and I thought somebody was going to have their internet blown out, but nobody seems to have. So this is a little higher, and
You still want to keep your pelvis level, and it'll be a little easier to roll the shoulders under because you have a little bit more height. But when you go to extending into Setu Bandha, you might find it's too much on your back, and so then you'll need something under your heels. Which I would start with just a folded blanket the same height that you lifted your other blankets. But when we go back to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana, this height is going to make it a little easier to get to whatever height you're going to. We'll start with the feet on the floor and the knees bent. And we're going to extend the legs. They'll be parallel or together. We're going to press the upper arms down and let the shoulder blades lift up off the floor, the shoulder blades and the ribs. So make sure you're extending in both directions so that when you extend your legs, that you don't start to bring your pelvis at a tilt towards your feet, but that the pelvis stays pretty level so that you can stay balanced with weight on your shoulders and balanced with weight on your heels. If you feel light on your shoulders, you should slide a little towards your shoulders and see if that makes a difference. All right, so the legs are fully extended. We're going to bring the left leg up to stand on the ceiling. Keep it as straight and strong as you can. We're going to bring the right leg up to meet it. All right, now we're going to bring the left leg to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. You can help it with your arms, but don't bend the leg. And the right leg has to stay standing on the ceiling. And then the right leg can follow. Again, you don't want to be, you want the shoulder blades broad and on the floor, and something still touching your bolster, the low back but not the sacrum. And then the left leg's going to stand on the ceiling, and the right leg's going to follow. The left leg going to extend to the floor, go slowly. And the right leg will follow. The legs are parallel or together. And now you got to lift the shoulder blades up off the floor, lift the floating ribs off the floor, and open the chest up. You can press the upper arms down. You want to feel balanced. Now the right leg's going to stand on the ceiling. Move slowly. Keep the legs straight. And then the left leg follows. So here, the groin has to soften and deepen. The right leg goes to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. As you reach up, you can flatten the shoulder blades onto the floor. And your arms can help you bring the leg down to wherever you're going. And then the left leg can follow. The right leg's going to stand on the ceiling. And the left leg's going to follow. And the right leg's going to come to Setu Bandha. And you're going to lift the chest up, press the upper arms down, and the left leg's going to follow. Legs are parallel or together. And if you slid around a little bit, you might want to slide back so that you feel like you're anchored on both sides. The left leg's going to stand on the ceiling. The right leg's going to follow. Both legs are coming to Paschimottanasana, Urdhva Mukha. So keep reaching towards the tailbone to stay connected with your bolster. And let that groin soften and deepen. And then both legs are standing on the ceiling. And now, either your left leg comes down and then your right leg follows, or you'll bring both legs down together. Open the chest, press the upper arms down. So now the right leg's coming up, standing on the ceiling. The left leg's going to follow. Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana, both legs. Let the shoulder blades flatten out on the floor. If you're holding your legs, let the elbows go wide. And both legs are standing on the ceiling. And now either your right leg's going to come down and then your left leg's going to follow, or you're going to bring both legs together slowly down to the floor. Keep the legs straight, press out into the heels, and be totally under control. Press the upper arms down, lift the shoulder blades up off the floor, and be a balanced bridge. And then roll to your right side. And sit up.
So we're going to add one more blanket, which is going to make this a lot easier and this harder. And so if you think you're going to need height under your heels, make sure you have it. While you're setting up, I'm going to go let Bird in.
go ahead and lie down on your bolster and get the pelvis nice and parallel to the floor and the ceiling with the legs bent and the feet on the floor. So the higher you go, the more likely you are to start to tip in one direction or the other. And so when you go to extend the legs here into Setu Bandha, pressing the upper arms down and lifting the rib cage up off the floor, you want to make sure that you're not tipping in either direction. The legs are parallel or together. And again, if it's too much, you need to lift the heels. So now you're going to stand the left leg on the ceiling. The right leg's going to follow. Keep the chest lifted. Now the left leg's going to come to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. As you do that, the ribs and shoulder blades start to flatten out towards the floor. And you'll see it's a lot easier to go to what was supporting your toes up this much higher. But let the back open up and extend. And let the right leg follow. And then the left leg's going to stand on the ceiling. The right leg's going to follow. You want to get that pelvis to feel very neutral. And that way you'll know that the legs are straight up and down and they're not piped forward or back. And then you're going to extend the left leg to the floor. Make sure you're not just bringing it down. It has to extend away from you. That's what's going to give you the control that you need. And then the right leg can follow. Press your upper arms down. Lift up those ribs. Extend into the legs and extend into the tops of your shoulders. Now the right leg's going to stand on the ceiling. Lift it slowly. The left leg's going to follow. And the right leg's going to come to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. You're going to broaden the back. Let the ribs and shoulder blades flatten out towards the floor. Broadens and lengthens. And then the left leg can follow. Move slowly. Now the right leg's going to stand on the ceiling. And the left leg's going to follow. And then the right leg's going to extend to Setu Bandha. Make sure it's extending and not just going down. Open the chest, press the upper arms down. And then the left leg can follow. Move slowly. The legs are parallel or together. Alright, so now either the left leg's going to come stand under the ceiling and then the right leg's going to follow, or you're going to bring both legs up together to stand on the ceiling. now, everybody, up both legs to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. Let the back broaden and flatten on the floor. And now both legs are going to stand on the ceiling. And either the left leg's going to come to Setu Bandha and then the right leg's going to follow after it's there, or you're slowly going to bring both legs down together, extending out to Setu Bandha. Lifting the ribs and shoulder blades, rolling the shoulders under. Opening up the abdomen. We got one more set. So either the right leg's going to come up and stand on the ceiling, and then the left leg will follow, or slowly you're going to lift both legs up together and stand them on the ceiling. The legs are absolutely straight. And now both legs are going to come together and fold to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. You're going to let the shoulder blades and back broaden and flatten on the floor. If you're holding the legs, the elbows are wide. The thigh bones are pressing up into the hamstrings. And then you're going to stand both legs up on the ceiling. And if you do that well, that's where you've got your pelvis pretty level there. And even before you start bringing the legs to Setu Bandha, you want to start to open the chest up, pressing the upper arms down. And so now either the right leg's going to come down, and then the left leg will follow, or both legs will extend out and eventually come down slowly. Pressing the upper arms down and lifting the chest. Alright, and then you'll bend your legs, bring the feet to the floor, bring the knees to the chest, let the back broaden and lengthen on the floor, hug the knees in. And then you'll roll to your right side and come up. You're up pretty high, so be careful. Alrighty, take a moment. Everybody okay? Alright, we're gonna
when you're ready, but take a moment. We're going to stand up, and you'll have a chair facing you, and that's what we'll do. One of the senior centers that I work at called me up and wanted to know if I was going to go live in May, and I was like, no, I'm really not, because I committed to teaching those classes virtually, and if I was going live, I wouldn't be teaching them for the summer, because I don't want to teach them live in the summer. I do them in the morning when I can't do them live there, and be done. And so they're like, well, how about in September? And I'm like, honestly, it's partially up to Washtenaw, because at the moment my fall classes are virtual still, but I don't have a choice. If they tell me that I have to be virtual, I have to be, and I'd be willing in the fall, if everybody's vaccinated and we're back to normal, to be teaching that way, but I can't commit to it now because it's really a lot up to Washtenaw. And then I started thinking, well, should I be looking for a studio? And I'm like, I feel like it's too early, because I don't want to start paying rent at a studio and not be able to use it. So I honestly think that, should I be able to find a space, the earliest I'd be teaching live again would be September. But I'm having a hard time making any kind of commitments at all. So don't ask me to marry you anytime soon, because my answer is I can't make any commitments right now. In case anybody was going to ask me to marry him. Anyway, even if that was the case, the answer is no. Pandemic or not. You don't necessarily need anything on the chair seat. I just kind of like it. All right, so we're going to set up here with the right leg forward and the left leg back. We're going to turn that left leg out a little bit, and we'll be setting up like we're doing Parsvatanasana. Last week I was so excited I was going to go get my hair cut on Wednesday, and then I realized it's tomorrow. It wasn't last week. And so I'm like, but luckily I'm in Groundhog Day, and it's Tuesday again, and tomorrow's going to be Wednesday. All right, so this is cool. This is a little like one leg in Setu Bandha and one leg standing on the ceiling. But one of the cool things about this is you really know where your pelvis is, I hope. And what you want to do is rest it on the bolster as evenly as possible. All right, you're going to keep the legs elongated, and you're going to let the elbows go wide, and you're going to bring the sternum down towards your chair seat. It's not necessarily or even going to hit, but that's where it's heading, towards the chair seat. And you want your sacrum to feel very supported on that bolster that's not there. And then you're going to lift yourself up. And you're going to bring your left hand to the right corner of the chair as far as you can. If you're up here, you can bring it up here. You're extending, but your hips don't, they don't go off to the left. You have to keep them balanced on the bolster. So keep pulling that left hip to the right. And then extend that left arm as far towards that right corner as you can. Don't let the hips start to pull. And then undo. And now you're going to turn your left leg all the way to the left. And here you have a lot of choices where your right hand can go on the center of the chair seat. And you're going to lift up to Trikonasana. So you're going to face the left wall. And then bring the left hand back to the chair seat. Turn your left leg back in, not all the way, but a lot. Make sure your heels are lined up. Find that bolster so that the pelvis is nice and neutral. And then let the elbows go wide and bring your sternum towards the chair seat. Lift yourself up. And we're going to switch. Take a nice wide stance. Line your heels up. Turn that right leg out a bit. Find the bolster for your pelvis. And let it come into neutral. Make sure the legs are elongated and stable, and let the elbows come wide, and bring your sternum towards the chair seat. And come up. Right, the right arm is going to extend up to that far left corner as far as you can without swinging the hip, keeping that pelvis on the bolster. Back to center. Now you're going to turn the right leg all the way out to the right. And you have a lot of choices with the left arm, how low you want to fold. You could even bring that forearm fully down. But now, that left hip has to come to the right and the right hip has to lift up. You're going to turn and face the right wall. And you can lift the right arm into Trikonasana. Come back to center. Turn that right leg back in a bit. Get centered. And then fold. Sternum, not the head, towards the chair seat. And then up you come. Stand up. All right, so now the right leg's forward. And the left leg's back. The heels are lined up. The left leg's turned out a bit. Take a wider stance. Get the pelvis neutral. Right, now reaching into the left leg. You're going to fold the right leg until the knee's above the heel. And then you're going to bring the elbows wide and bring the sternum down towards the chair seat. And then keeping the legs the way they are, you're going to stand up to Virabhadrasana 1. And then the hands come back to the chair. You're going to turn the left leg to the left wall. You're going to bring that right hip to the left and the left hip up. And you have a lot of choices with your right arm, but we're going to come to Parsvakonasana. You can extend that left arm if you get that left shoulder up. And then come back to center, turn that left leg in a bit. Make sure the knee's above the heel. And fold again, sternum towards your chair seat. And then lengthen the right leg, pull the hips back. And reach out to that far corner with your left hand. Keep the hips neutral. Reach as far as you can. And then we'll come up. All right, so now the left leg's forward. The heels are lined up. You're taking a nice wide stance. Find that bolster and let your pelvis rest on it. And then the left knee is going to come above the heel. And you're going to keep that pelvis nice and neutral. You're going to bring the elbows wide and bring the sternum towards the chair seat. And then go ahead and reach the right arm across. Come back to center and stand up in Virabhadrasana 1. You're back to the chair seat. And now you have a lot of options about how much you want to fold. Bring that make sure you bring that left hip to the right and the right hip up. Open up. Keep the knee above the heel. And add the right arm if you want in Parsvakonasana. Back to center. Elbows wide and bring the sternum down. And then press back and lengthen the left leg. And fold again. And then come up. Tadasana. Alrighty, you can put the chair aside. I think what we need to do now is Supta Baddha Konasana, and you can do it, I'm going to give you a choice. You can just do it regular, flat on the floor with your head supported. You could do it with the spine supported on something like a bolster, with the head supported a little higher. Or you could do it in a Setu Bandha fashion. So here are your choices. Just a plain old Supta Baddha Konasana. You can use your strap like this. One with a supported spine and head. Like this. Or and you can certainly support your outer legs no matter how you set up. And the last one is you're up on the bolster and you're like this. I like them all, but I think I'm going to do the second one. And I think you should put your eye bags on. And if I have something to say, you can hear that with your eye bag on. I think that was a very interesting workout, yoga practice. I don't mean workout, but a yoga practice. And I'm hoping that it illuminated some things for you.
So if you're using the bolster parallel to your spine, along your spine, it starts at the base of the rib cage, and the pelvis and the low back are not on it, and the low back is floating, and the pelvis is on the floor. You have lots of choices with your arms, and you can catch your wrists and bring the arms overhead. You can lengthen the arms overhead. You can catch your elbows and bring the arms overhead. You can catch the upper arms and bring the arms overhead. You can rest your arms, your hands on your belly and let them absorb your breath. And you could bring them to Savasana. Make sure you're as symmetrical as you possibly can get. And that even when you support the legs in Baddha Konasana, after a while you might want to change how you're supporting them, because you'll find that now they're willing to release more. So after a while, you might want to move your bricks or blankets and see if the legs are willing and able. So you might want to check your leg support. You want to take those nice deep breaths.
Excuse me.
When you're ready, Savasana, you can, if you have that support along under your spine, you can stay like that, or you could decide that you want to go down just on the floor with a blanket under your head and your neck. And if your sandbags are nearby, you might like those.
So nobody heard me, Savasana? Okay, all right. breath to slow down and deepen. When you're ready, join me in Sukhasana. Or if you just want to stay where you are, I'll see you later. And once you sit up, just just lift those floating ribs up a little bit higher. That'll make the bottom back ribs dig in a little bit along with the shoulder blades and help support that more of a lift. Namaste. I hope that treats you well. Sounds like the wind might have calmed down. As always, you're welcome just to sign off. See you, Julie. I'm glad you're back. Everything all right? You're welcome, Jan. I'm wondering if that was too much for you. Was that okay? Yeah, I thought it might be to say that. All right. Okay, good. All right. All right. All right, you're welcome. See ya. Oh, good. You're the only one that said that, but that's good. I hope that you did some good. I love that. I did that this morning after I practiced my sun salutations, and then I did it again with you guys tonight, and I really, it makes me feel great. With the, yeah, because you're welcome, Sharon. See ya. You know, the the abdominal muscles do different things. You know, they open up and then they have to. You know, it's interesting. Yeah, I agree. And extended. Yeah, 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 yeah. That is a great insight. That is great. That's so exciting to hear because that absolutely, you know, I watch people's legs flop down, and the thing is, that's what supports them. That's so cool. Yay. I feel like we succeeded. Yeah. It's really hard to tell people how to do that. Yeah. You're welcome. Yahoo. You're welcome. All right, you too. See ya. No, and next week. It's not next week. Next week we have Tuesday class. It's the 13th. Next week's the 7th. Yeah. All right. All right, good. All right. See ya.